OMG's boys, girls in between us, how you doing? It's another week. We're back from another little quick hiatus that we like to do when there's just nothing freaking happening, but there is things that's happening this week and we're not sure what they are, but we're going to talk about them anyway. And to do so, I have brought along Mr. Nairman. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm fine actually. It's a really nice sunny Sunday morning here, so good way to start the day. Very shiny, that's all I'm saying.
It certainly sounds like a good way to get yourself going.
Exactly. You know what? This is another really great way to get yourself going. Talking about video games.
Yup.
So that's what we're here to do. We're here to bring you all the news that's new and improved from the world of gaming. And first and foremost, the biggest thing that's happened this week, easily, is the launch of the much anticipated, I don't know if it's anticipated, but certainly talked about, hyped, discussed YouTube gaming platform. So, what are your thoughts on that? Have you seen too much of this? Have you seen it in action yet, Nairman? Have you had any initial impressions of it?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of my friends do it, and for the most part, it seems like it works. The biggest problem I've been hearing is just the content ID system, which has been a problem with YouTube in general for the longest time. But as far as functioning works, it seems to work pretty much just like Twitch does, at least in terms of the user experience. The only thing I wish it would do better is make the comment section bigger, because those scroll way too quickly if you have a lot of viewers.
Okay, I was going to save content ID till a little bit later, but thanks for spoiling that!
Well, it's the big topic for it, so yeah.
Alright, well let's talk about the elephant in the room then, because YouTube gaming, the biggest distinction that I'm aware of with YouTube gaming is from Twitch, is that they both have a content ID system. The big difference, however, is that YouTube's actually runs live. So it will actually flag your content as it's happening, and I know it will definitely block it from any kind of replay. Does it actually block it while you're playing it though?
I have no idea. I've heard that, yes, it will block replays. It's just one of those, I'm not sure if it cuts you off from doing it live. I doubt it does that, but yeah, it just seems like a really, really dumb way to go about things, considering that's going to keep people from going to your platform and just sticking with Twitch.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Twitch as a platform in general, because that's essentially something that people use to earn money. I mean, a lot of people do it for fun. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of people also use it to earn money and make a living. And there's nothing wrong with that, because, that's how they make their living and that's how they choose to do it. If there are people who support them doing that, there's nothing wrong with that. I'd love to be able to do that, just no one likes me, so that's fine. But for those people trying to, branch out into something like YouTube, I mean, with Twitch, the only way you're really going to earn your revenue is from the donations and subscriptions and whatnot. So that's their model of revenue. That's fine. If you move over to YouTube, subscriptions obviously already work in a very different way there. So the only way you're going to make money off your videos there is either if you have a donation model running kind of outside of YouTube, or if you could go talk about having those, replays of your videos on your channel to earn ad revenue. And if the content ID flags your videos, guess what? You're going to lose all that ad revenue, and it's going to go to all the people who are just, flagging things left and right because they can.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works, and it really bites when you have a video that gets flagged.
It does. I mean, I get videos flagged all the time, and I don't bother contesting them because I don't make any money off my videos anyway, so there's not really much point. But it does happen. If anyone's actually tried to make a channel on YouTube about gaming, it does happen with alarming frequency.
Yeah, it just does. It's something you have to be aware of, and unfortunately there's a lot of kind of bad false flaggings going on with a lot of streams and a lot of games lately, so yeah, it's just something that's always been a problem with YouTube, and they just seem to have no interest in fixing it. Yeah,
well, I mean, this is probably very bad PR for YouTube gaming, considering it happened within, I think, 13 hours of the stream going live. But there was a big streamer, I forget his name, but essentially he was streaming the new Gears of War, HD re-release, and it got flagged. And, obviously, there are streamers who play their own music in the background of games, things like that, and that's obviously asking for trouble. He wasn't doing this. He was just playing the game, and the soundtrack that was playing in the background of the game while he was playing it was what got flagged.
Yeah. There's unfortunately not much you can really do about that, as long as it's a legitimate claim, but it's one of those that makes you not want to play the game for YouTube anymore. It pretty much just says, okay, I'm not going to get anything out of this, why do it?
Well, that's it. I mean, this is going to be the dragon that YouTube has to slay if they want to be able to compete with Twitch, because That's what I've heard from, like, I'm not a mover and shaker in the streaming world by any stretch of the imagination, but from people that I've talked to and people who do that kind of thing, no one's really that interested in just throwing themselves into the YouTube gaming at the moment. It's nice to have it there. It works well from what they've seen, but this content ID system is going to be a real problem for people who want to try and make revenue off their videos. I mean, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. You put a lot of work into this stuff, so why shouldn't you get a reward for it?
Yeah, and it's just one of those. I know my channel, Brain Scratch Comms, is going to basically stay on Twitch until either that gets fixed or something else comes along, because I mean, we may do a little bit of YouTube if we know it won't get flagged, like something really obscure or something we know we'll have permission for. But yeah, it's just one of those. I think a lot of people are just going to stick with Twitch for now.
Well, exactly. I mean, you guys are doing God, you're doing Splatoon at the moment, and I mean, if you did that on YouTube, that would get flagged to hell by Nintendo, because they just pounce on anything that happens on YouTube that's to do with Nintendo.
Yeah, pretty much. That's why when we do our Splatoon stream, eventually, we'll be doing it on Twitch.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a nice idea, and look, there's nothing. And I mean, I'm not ragging on YouTube gaming because I'm, Twitch fanboy or anything like that. Competition is good. There's nothing wrong with competition, because competition from YouTube will push Twitch to be better and vice versa. So that's great. But at the moment, there just doesn't seem to be any really great incentive for people to jump across platforms and make that switch to YouTube gaming when they have a platform which still has its own content ID system, but at least it's a lot more forgiving than what they have to deal with going to YouTube.
Yep, and that's basically kind of what's been going on with that. A lot of people saying, nope, not going to YouTube, we'll stick with Twitch.
Yeah, pretty much. Alright, well, we've beaten that dead horse enough. We're going to move on to, there's been a lot of things that have happened this week, but none of them are particularly big. So rather than having some big topics to discuss for this week, we're just going to rattle off a whole bunch of little things we found interesting and see where things go from there. So, first cab off the rank is that a third-party Amiibo was outed by, was it a French retailer? I forget.
It was either French or German, I can't remember, but some European retailer basically outed the Shovel Knight Amiibo. So yeah, a Nintendo indie partner is getting its own Amiibo, which is pretty surprising considering Nintendo pretty much sticks to its own properties for these things. Obviously, we have the Sonic, Pac-Man, and Mega Man, but that's Smash related, which they know is going to sell. But the fact that they're doing a third-party Amiibo for their system is pretty big deal.
Yeah, now I've never gone down the Amiibo rabbit hole. I mean, they just released the Zero Suit Samus one not too long ago, which is one that I might be interested in if I was going to get back into Smash. So, by getting I mean, I understand obviously like the purpose of Amiibos is that you can use them to, for things like Smash, to be able to record your data and be able to fight for you and things like that. What's the advantage of having a third-party Amiibo like Shovel Knight?
You mean for the game itself, or as a kind of business proposition?
The first one, then the other.
Okay, the first one, it unlocks some stuff on the Wii U and I believe new 3DS versions of the Shovel Knight game. Like there's a certain co-op mode, there's challenge rooms, etc. that are going to be unlocked and updated via the Amiibo. And as far as the business proposition goes, it just solids their partnerships with indies and third parties a lot better. It's something that, a lot of businesses have been going like hotcakes, all these Amiibos, particularly the Nintendo ones, and say, hey, can we do something like that for your system? And hey, maybe it'll work out better and maybe more people will be interested in making Amiibos.
So is this a surprising choice for you, having Shovel Knight being the first third-party Amiibo?
A little bit, considering Shovel Knight's on basically every system. It's not really like an exclusive Nintendo thing. It did come out on the Nintendo platforms first, but it's not like it's specific to it, so that's a bit surprising, but it's also one of the biggest indie games on Nintendo consoles, so that in that regard, it's also not surprising.
Okay, so with this Amiibo, do you think that this is going to be the start of something where other third parties were able to get in on this? Do you think that we're going to see Nintendo basically being a bit more... Does this signal a new era of Nintendo being more friendly towards third parties, is what I'm trying to ask?
Quite possibly. We'll have to see where it goes from here, because I know the Shovel Knight Amiibo is going to sell like hotcakes here in the West, probably not so much in the East, but it's one of those, it shows that they're willing to cooperate, which is something that they don't do too terribly often.
Yeah, fair enough. Alright, well, you got anything else on that, or shall we move on?
I think we can move on.
Alright, well, let's move on to Lawbreakers, which is going to be the new arena shooter from Cliffy B, who, for those of you who don't know, was actually the ex-founder slash president slash all-round nice guy from Epic Games. He created a lot of the stuff that there, like Gears of War and whatnot. And he's now moved on to his own company, which is called, I think it's Boskey or something like that. Anyway, doesn't matter. Point is that he's dipping his toe into the emerging genre of the arena shooter. And it looks pretty interesting, I think. I mean, but I suppose, well, what's your impressions of it? What was your impressions of the trailer, first and foremost?
It kind of looks like Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, just like every other arena shooter.
Yep, but Team Fortress 2 is the first one I gravitate towards because it's the one I played the most of.
Fair. And what do you play in Team Fortress 2 the most?
Spy!
Were you one of those bastards who would put like porno mags on the ground and then just hide and wait for people to run past?
I haven't done that particularly, but I know people who have.
Alright, so they're dipping their toe in that arena, and as I said, it seems to be something of an emerging genre, because obviously, Team Fortress 2 was the first, game to really create the that kind of genre in the first place. But now we've got things like Blizzard's version coming out, which, oh my god, the name escapes me at the moment. Daybreak, is it, or something like that? Fuck, it's too early in the morning.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head either.
I'm gonna bring it up right now. This is the most unprofessional thing you can do in the middle of a podcast. I'm gonna bring it up just to prove that I'm not completely stupid. But Overwatch, that's what it is. Overwatch, not Daybreak.
Gotcha, Overwatch.
Yeah, so Overwatch, and now we've got, there are other ones that have obviously been coming out from more minor developers, but now we have Daybreak coming out. So, it's interesting. I mean, this is going to become, it seems to be building up very much in the kind of way that games like Dota did and whatnot, and it may well become its own kind of like esports kind of niche.
It very well might. I mean, we haven't gotten that one that's really kind of exploded into mainstream popularity. Obviously, people know about Dota or about Team Fortress 2, but there's not really one that's kind of exploded into the main public consciousness of it yet. So maybe this might be the one. Who knows? Yeah,
it might be. So I suppose the other interesting thing about this is that, from what I've heard, that it's going to be actually, in terms of like the actual overall roster of characters that you play, is that, and this is something obviously that people who watch my channel know is near and dear to my heart, is that there's going to be a large number of female characters in this, which is very interesting, especially coming from Cliffy B, in the sense that like Gears of War was such a bro-centric game that was like, big muscly dudes going around doing big muscly dude things, and now we have this game that he's developing, which is going to have, I think, almost, from what I heard, I think almost half the initial roster will be female characters.
That's certainly a good thing. I mean, obviously, more female characters is a good thing as long as they're done well, and I believe, from what we've been seeing in this game, it looks like they're doing them pretty well. I mean, they're not any different from any other characters, and yeah, they're going to play like the dudes, so that's perfectly fine.
Pretty much. They're not going to have babies in the middle of the field.
Hooray.
They're not going to, like, script your team with all their emotions and stuff.
Hey, as long as it all works out in gameplay, I really don't care what gender the characters are.
Fair enough. Alright. So yeah, there's a trailer after that. It's about a minute and a half long. We don't get to see too much, but the other interesting thing, I suppose, is that like they've said there's going to be like a futuristic take on cops and robbers, and that, when you say cops and robbers, that kind of raises a red flag for me, because games that are based on cops and robbers do not traditionally do very well. Yeah,
you kind of have one team that's kind of doing all the killing and one team that's just running away.
Well, I mean, that can be the same can be said for any kind of versus game, but team-based game. But I was speaking more specifically. I mean, throw your recent memory back. I mean, one of the most spectacular failures of recent memory was the game APB, if you ever saw that. But that was going to be like, that was touted as like the big contender to WoW. This is going to show WoW, World of Warcraft. This is back in like 2007, 2008 when WoW was a lot bigger. They're going to show how to do MMOs and things like that. And the game collapsed under its own weight and was basically picked up by another company and was released to very little fanfare. And it's still kicking around, I think, but it was moved to a free-to-play model and all kinds of stuff, and it just didn't do that at all. And then, moving forward a little bit, something a bit more recent, we have Battlefield Hardline, which is a game that was very much maligned for its, basically for being what it is. It was like the single-player campaign was very cliche, and the multiplayer was said to be, when it wasn't broken, though, it was just said to be fairly mediocre.
I see. So what you're basically saying is that the hype train could kill it.
Well, I just saying that I think that, I don't know whether it's because people who try to make games that are based on cops and robbers just don't know how to make them properly, or because as soon as you say cops and robbers, people instantly have a certain association with it that may not be entirely positive.
True. I mean, we'll just kind of have to see how this comes out. I don't think we have too many examples of outstanding failures that will just kill any hype for this game. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, alright. And before I get about it, I just want to jump back to the earlier topic of YouTube gaming. Did you see that what happened with Jimmy Kimmel on that?
Yeah, basically he lambasted the entire LP gaming culture online.
I know, but the hilarious part about it is that the clip of it was put online, and for those of you who haven't seen it and have any interests that are even vaguely aligned with ours, you'll find it to be terribly unfunny because it's just the old guard of traditional media going, "Whoa, what's this new type of entertainment? We better make fun of it." I don't know why they talk like that, but they just, they make really dumb jokes about it. I mean, you're like, oh, why would you watch someone who's playing games? That's boring. I mean, why would you watch someone who's playing a sport when you could be playing a sport? That's fucking boring too. I don't know, but the point being is that they released this clip on YouTube, and it has about 1,300 up, at the time of looking at it this morning, it's about 1,300 upvotes, and 34,000 downvotes.
That's quite the disparaging numbers there for Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, he's probably not quite used to that, and his social media team might be getting a little bit of a talking to at the moment, I would imagine.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they probably won't talk about gaming for a while then.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny to me, as I said, because it's just the old guard, traditional media, who are obviously losing viewers to exactly this kind of thing. Going, like, oh, why would you go and watch that thing? It's really dumb. You should be watching us making fun of things and so forth. It's painfully obvious to me. It's very transparent.
Yeah, especially considering he's a talk show host, and talk show hosts are just him talking to guests or very slight skits, so it's not the most exhilarating thing in the world either, so, yeah.
Exactly. Why would I watch you talk to a celebrity when I could be talking to a celebrity? It's stupid.
Yeah, pretty much. Shall we move on to our next topic then?
We shall, and our next topic is the Dead or Alive Extreme 3. This was actually announced a couple of weeks ago, but I haven't really had a chance to talk about it. Is the Dead or Alive Extreme 3 has been announced by Team Ninja, and which is the good news because people like me who are sad and lonely and have nothing better to do with their lives enjoy playing these games. It has been announced. It is finally happening after a good, I think 8 years since the last one came out. That's the good news. Bad news is not getting an international release.
Yeah, that seems kind of odd, but I mean, hey, there are import copies. I mean, I believe the modern consoles are region free.
Yeah, and that's exactly what that's exactly what I'm going to do. I've already been talking to some of my friends who are also Dead or Alive, and it's basically go, yep, just go to the import sites, go to playasia.com, and just buy it from there, and it's region free, so you can do that. Hopefully, apparently, if they make a Chinese version of it, there's usually an English dub, apparently. I'm not really sure. I'm not into doing imports up until now, but that apparently is an option.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. I mean, ultimately, it's Dead or Alive Extreme. It's not going to be the hardest thing to navigate through menus for.
I want to hear their thoughts and feelings about what's happening, god damn it.
You're probably the only one who's playing it for that.
So they are basically not getting an international release. They did make some comments about it, but essentially what the comments boiled down to was that it just doesn't sell outside of Japan, was what they said. So, I mean, obviously not very surprising in that regard.
No, not surprising at all, considering the stigma with it.
And then I guess that kind of is the problem, is that, like, if you buy this game, obviously you're a tragic, sad individual and whatnot, and I don't know, is that true? I mean, what are your thoughts on that, obviously? I mean, we're obviously going to be a bit more sympathetic to this cause. What are your thoughts on people who would buy this kind of game, keeping in mind there is a person who would buy this kind of game talking to you right now?
Well, that kind of puts me on the spot. Ultimately, I think it's, you play what you want to play and you get what you get out of it.
Choose your words carefully.
You get what you get out of the game that you pay for, and if you want to get something out of a game like that, go right ahead. I'm not one to judge. So, if you like that sort of thing, have at it, Hoss.
You should just said, I don't know and I have no opinion.
That's what I say about a lot of things, so I figured I might as well be a bit more eloquent with it.
Well said, sir. Well said. You may live another day. Alright, so that's kind of where that is. There's not really too much else to say, though. There's no trailers, no videos or anything. It's just been announced, and I think it's going to be happening within the next couple of years. I could talk about my hopes and dreams for that kind of game. I would just hope that, when you go back and look at them, they're very, very short and painfully linear and things like that. I would like there to be more kind of like, it'd be cool if you could like pick a character and kind of free roam around the island and actually have kind of a vacation experience as opposed to just navigating menus and doing events and things like that. That'd be very cool to me, and I've been kind of hoping for that since the first game, so maybe they'll do it this time, who knows.
I guess we'll just have to see whenever they get it around to showing it off.
Indeed. Moving on from just digging myself out of that hole. We're going to talk about our Mika. Rainbow Mika has been announced as the 10th character for Street Fighter V. It's cool, girls with big boobs and stuff, that's great for me, but I'm not really too excited about her because I never actually played Alpha 3, which is the game she's from predominantly. So, do you have any thoughts on her from what you saw?
Not really. I never played Alpha 3 either, and I know pretty much nothing about this character. I mean, it just seems like a weird choice considering she's not one of the main group of characters that everyone kind of knows for Street Fighter. It just kind of seems like a left field choice for adding so early in this cycle.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if nothing else, the character choices so far they've been pretty, I wouldn't say hit and miss, but there's been some very predictable ones like Bison, Ken, Ryu, Chun-Li, that kind of thing. And then there's been ones that have been very left field, characters like Birdie or Vega, things like that. So they seem to be a little bit all over the place in terms of like characters that they're choosing for this game. With Rainbow Mika, she does fill that slot in the roster that so far, up until this point, there had not been a grappler character in the roster, and there was going to be one at some stage or another. That was pretty much an inevitability. I thought it was going to be Zangief, personally, but having her in there, that's pretty cool as well. I'm all for that. I think that not going with the obvious choices in that regard is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely adds more variety rather than just basically making Street Fighter 2 Street Fighter 5. But it's one of those, it seems like they could have maybe done a middle ground choice rather than someone from a game I don't think a lot of people have played, unless you're like a super hardcore fighting fan who have played like every Street Fighter ever.
Yeah, fair enough. Probably the only thing that I found really questionable about it was, probably along with a lot of people as well, is that her super move finishes with her, she has a tag team partner that she can use for some of her moves, her and her tag team partner crushing a character's head between their butts. I'm not making that up. I'll toss in a video, I'll toss in a link somewhere, but that's essentially what happens. And I mean, aside from just like, just shouting Japan when that happens, I mean, it's it's probably, I mean, some people are saying like it's really cool that she's a female grappler and things like that, but I see things like that, I'm just like, this is not doing a great deal of justice to our cause of trying to legitimize the place of female characters in games. Yeah,
definitely. It's just one of those, I don't think anyone would actually use that as a move sort of thing.
Also, I just realized it's grossly hypocritical of me to talk about legitimizing female characters in games when I just got through talking about Dead or Alive Extreme 3.
Yeah, pretty much.
I am a terrible person.
We all are.
Alright, let's move along from there. So, still talking about fighting games, Mortal Kombat 10 for previous generation, for the old gen of 360 and PS3, has been cancelled. It's been put out to pasture. My first and only reaction to hearing that news was that this pretty much confirms that NetherRealm Studios had confused their expectations with their abilities.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't surprise me in that regard. It's also pretty much the final nail in the coffin for me for last-gen systems. It seems like the PS3 and 360 are finally not getting any support anymore, and we're going to go exclusively to the PS4 and Xbone.
Which is pretty amazing. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, going back looking at previous console generations, we had, it used to be the case that there'd just be that immediate jump, or very close to, from one generation to another. That happened, with like the, I can't talk about like too much about the really old stuff because I didn't have those consoles in like terms of the 16 bits and the 32 bits. But certainly with like the PS1, the PS2, those were very clean breaks from one generation of consoles to another. The PS2 to PS3 and Xbox to Xbox 360 generations was kind of like the first generation to kind of drag its tail, or drag its butt a little bit on that one. And then this current generation that we have now has taken almost 2 years to kind of make that break, and it still isn't concrete. I mean, they still may try to do that, to some degree for, another 6 months, 12 months, or whatever. But at this point, it's been almost 2 years since those consoles came out, and they're still, doing that.
Yeah, it's just one of those surprising things about the longevity of technology these days. I mean, yeah, those previous consoles from Super Nintendo, N64, or whatever had pretty clear breaks where the previous system pretty much, aside from maybe a few late releases, pretty much got shot down as soon as the new console came out. So, yeah, I guess it's time to upgrade for everyone.
Indeed, and yeah, look, I'm totally fine with that. I need to get myself PS4 still, but that's me. Yeah, as you said, clean break. So I don't really suppose there's too much else to say there. It's just, I suppose, it's an interesting land in the sand, if nothing else.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's just one of those. I'm pretty sure everyone who was interested in Mortal Kombat X would probably upgrade anyway, so yeah.
Fair enough. Now, Metal Gear Solid 5 has been, after all the bitching and moaning that we've done and all the craziness and insanity that's gone on with this game and its development and Kojima and all those things, is finally the review copies have been out. It comes out tomorrow in Australia. It's going to come out, I imagine, slightly longer than that for you in America. But it's out and it's getting pretty much near perfect scores all around. I haven't checked it out too much. I know that IGN gave it 10 out of 10. What else have you seen?
Just a lot of 9s out of 10s, 10s out of 10s, 9.5s out of 10s, like one of the best stealth games ever, sort of phrases being thrown around. So it seems like this is going to be a really good game, and it's a shame that it's probably going to be the last one we're ever going to get.
Yep, apparently Kojima's been going kind of crazy on Twitter as well. I did check that out briefly. Have you seen anything about that?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit about that, but it's hard to tell when it's Twitter and crazy stuff happens on there all the time.
I have finally gotten around to playing Ground Zeroes. I haven't actually finished it yet, but yeah, from what I've played so far, I mean, my impression of, at least, this is my news on a game that came out like 18 months ago. My thought about that is that, like, it's probably the same thing that everyone else thought at the time, is that it's really cool and all. I just wish, I still don't understand why they went with, Keith Sutherland instead of David Hayter. I still just really miss David Hayter from that game.
Yeah, same here, and it's just one of those kind of something probably Konami pushed for rather than Kojima, because I know Kojima likes David Hayter a lot.
Yeah, fair enough, good point. But that said, I'll probably wind up getting it anyway, because there's not too much coming out between now and at the end of the year. For me, at least, I mean, there's a lot of games coming out that people are going to be very interested in, but for me personally, I'm not really looking forward to anything until November, when I think Rise of Tomb Raider comes out, and Xenoblade Chronicles X comes out as well, around then, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles X, I believe, comes out for the US at least early December.
Yeah, alright, so so between now and December, that's probably going to be the game that's going to tide me over. How about you? Is there anything that you're looking forward to?
I'm going to be getting Metal Gear Solid 5 and Mario Maker, actually.
Ah, nice. That's very good things about Mario Maker.
Yep, I'm probably not going to be making too many levels myself. I'm most likely going to be playing other people's, because I am uncreative.
You're not uncreative, you're here right now creating content.
Yay, creation!
Yeah, you're an artist now. You're like Kanye West.
Too bad I don't make as much money as him.
So yeah, so that's kind of Metal Gear Solid 5, so we'll both be getting it, so hopefully it will be as good as the hype says that it is. And finally, at least for me, I don't really have too much else, but they released a image of Michael Fassbender in his costume for the Assassin's Creed movie, which was kind of a surprise to me because I didn't know they were making one.
Yeah, I didn't know either, and I'm not the biggest Assassin's Creed fan. I've looked at the photo, and yeah, it looks like it's an Assassin's Creed movie, alright. Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. I have no real love for Assassin's Creed either. I finished Assassin's Creed 2, I played a little bit of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, but it just doesn't grab me, unfortunately. It's just not that great a game to me, certainly. I mean, a lot of people love it. Dre is a huge fan of that series, but yeah, to me, I'm not really a big fan, but I suppose what's interesting to me is that, this is like another big step into video game movies, and in that sense, I kind of want it to succeed, because there is yet to be kind of that Marvel movie, that Iron Man of video game movies that will, finally get the formula right, essentially. Finally actually take the content and actually mold it into something which actually people want to see, regardless of whether they actually play games or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those we haven't really had that yet. There's been a few decent ones here and there. I like the first Mortal Kombat movie, which I kind of like. We do have some animated ones coming out soon, which hopefully will actually be pretty good.
Yeah, and look, I was having this discussion with some people on my stream yesterday. I don't think, it wouldn't be the first good video game movie, as you said. The first Mortal Kombat movie was pretty good. It was cheesy, it was a product of its times, but it was still entertaining, and there's been other good ones since then. I really personally like the Silent Hill, the first one at least. The second one's terrible. The first Silent Hill movie, to me, is actually pretty good. It's not fantastic, but it's pretty good. And there's been, a couple of others we can go over. I mean, Doom was okay, I guess. But I guess Prince of Persia is another one. Prince of Persia I thought was a very good movie. Again, not fantastic, but a solid 7 out of 10. But it hasn't really been one that's been commercially successful, and that's kind of more what I was driving at.
I see. I think we'll get that more when we get the bigger names out there. I mean, we'll have our Ratchet & Clank movie, and we'll have our Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and I think those will actually do pretty well, all things considered, because they have kind of the name power behind them.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can say that about Mario Brothers.
Yeah, but that was also 1993 when gaming was still considered for little kids all the time, and Mario Brothers wasn't very good also.
I don't know about that, but alright. Anyway, look, time will tell, obviously. But, I mean, I guess, as I said to a friend the other day, the problem is that as much as I like Mike Fassbender, as much as I think he is a fantastic actor, he really is a great actor, Prometheus proved that Michael Fassbender cannot save a shitty movie.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of just, the script better be good or else it's kind of going to be a waste again.
Yeah, well, the script's going to be good, the director's going to be good, all that kind of thing. Everything has to come together, like I said, in the way that like Marvel figured out the formula for their comic book movies. Someone has to do that for video games, and maybe this will be the one, who knows, but I look, as much as I'm not really interested in the content, I still wish it the best of luck.
Yeah, sure, why not? I'm not, rooting against it or anything, I just have no vested interest.
Yeah, fair enough. Alright, well, that's what I've got. Anything else that you got, man, that you want to discuss? Sweet.
Nope, nothing I can think
of. Guys,
of.
we're done. We're out of here. We are finished for the week. Hope you guys had a good time. Hope you all enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Mr. Nairman, if people want to find you, where can they do that?
You can find me on Twitter at NairmanBSC, or you can find me on Brain Scratch Comps on YouTube.
Indeed, and you can find me on all the places that I do things in the description below. That's it for us, guys. We'll catch you later. Have yourselves a good one, and we are out of here. Bye-bye.